Hey ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here for Digital Dojos, and today we're going to be talking all about the Sonos 2020 lineup. I recently did a video on this channel regarding the new Sonos Arc and 3rd gen products, and there's a lot of questions and feedback around the Sonos lineup, and I figured why not just cover the whole entire lineup as it stands here in 2020. Furthermore, to help out those of you who may just be new and interested in investing in a Sonos product, hopefully this helps you out to some degree. So with that, what you're buying into, like I always mention, is an ecosystem. Yes, you're buying speakers. Yes, you're buying audio products. But what Sonos is really known for is their ecosystem. Their ability to do multi-room audio wirelessly and easily through their app. So for example, I have 5 rooms here that have Sonos speakers, and I can easily just sync all of them to play the same song. Speaking of playing songs, you have multiple music sources that you can stream from, whether it's Spotify, Tidal Hi-Fi, SoundCloud for all you mixtape rappers, Apple Music, Audible for audiobooks, podcasts, you name it. Sonos probably supports it for the most part. They support a lot of the popular platforms out there, and it makes it easy and convenient because you can do it all from one application. Now, that said, speaking of the, speakers, let's talk about them. Let's talk about the current lineup as it stands here in 2020. My personal recommendation, if you want a portable speaker in Sonos' line, the Move, because the Move is the only option out there in their lineup currently. At $400, it is a hefty price tag, and it's more expensive than the common everyday kind of Bluetooth speaker that you'll see and can get out there in the market, but it's Sonos' only portable speaker. It's also their only speaker that supports Bluetooth to begin with, which you may be used to that in most speakers. That's because Sonos works all over your Wi-Fi and home network, so it doesn't use Bluetooth technology. However, the Move in this case, since it's meant to be used outdoors and outside of your network, is the exception. It features 2 Class D amplifiers and a midwoofer, as well as a microphone built in for voice assistant for Amazon Alexa, so I don't trigger mine, and or Google Assistant. And again, coming in at $400, it's a hefty price tag. I would equate the soundstage audio-wise to that of the Sonos One. A little bit more pack-a-punch in terms of its bass and its depth. And then maybe that's just due to its bigger and larger size in terms of like a Bluetooth speaker. Definitely has a big physical form factor. But again, portable, and if you want to run with it in terms of, get something that's portable to move from room to room, then the Move is your only option. However, if you're new to the world of Sonos, I would recommend starting out in the Sonos One line of products, whether it's the One or the One SL, starting at $180. The SL is essentially the same exact speaker without the voice assistant. So no microphone, no Google, no Amazon. So if you don't care about that stuff or you're using them specifically as rear speakers, then just save $20 and get the SL. The Sonos One is the best bang for your buck. It's the most versatile speaker you can get in the lineup. And similar to that of the Move, it also has 2 Class D amplifiers and a midwoofer. And it's just a really versatile speaker and expandable in that you can buy one of them and just use it for like a small room or bedroom. Especially if you get the One version with the voice assistant, you can use it on your nightstand, for example. You can get 2 of them and then pair them in stereo mode, so you get a stereo listening experience for your music, that true stereo separation. You can add a sub to them if you really wanted to. You can eventually, if you decide to get something like the Sonos Arc or Beam, which we'll talk about for your living room, use these as your rear speakers. So it's just a really versatile system and speaker in that you can, as you go along in your Sonos journey, choose to kind of, set it up as you please. For example, I bought the previous generation Play Ones years ago, and I bought just one of them to test out and dip my waters in the world of Sonos. I eventually got 2 of them, eventually got the full surround setup, and then, it's progressed as the journey has gone on. If you're on the Play Ones, do you need to upgrade to the Sonos One? Not necessarily, unless you truly want that of the voice assistant, the digital assistant, then by all means. Furthermore, another note to add on is the Sonos One and SL support that, or I believe the One supports that of AirPlay. So if you're on the Play One, you don't have AirPlay support. So if that's something that matters to you, that's the only reason I would see you upgrading. Next up is the Sonos Five. This was recently introduced into that of the 3rd gen products. If you're on the 2nd gen like myself on the Play 5, don't worry about upgrading to what they're now calling just the Sonos 5. There's no major difference that you're going to hear audibly. It's more so hardware that's going to be allowing the product to last longer in terms of longevity and for software updates. But the Sonos 5 is the top line. It's the premier product in terms of Sonos' music listening experience. is also one I have in my living room currently, the Play 5 second gen. My Sonos One now sits in my bathroom, and that fares well there with its assistant. The Sonos 5 is the only product in the line currently, speaker-wise, that doesn't feature a voice assistant, and I think this is more so because it's meant for just quality listening experience and high fidelity. It's also the only product to feature a line in, so if you have something like a turntable, you can plug that in. That's the only product in the lineup that currently supports it. It also has 6 amps, 3 mid-woofers, and 3 tweeters, so it gives a lot of soundstage, a really ultra-wide soundstage for its form factor. You can use them in vertical or horizontal orientation. They're smart enough to realize what orientation they are in and then tune the sounds accordingly. And it comes in at $500. So if you want the top of the line when it comes to music listening experience, you got to go Sonos 5. I would only recommend updating to Sonos 5 in 3rd generation if you're coming from the 1st gen and you're starting to see that product come end of life cycle because of the software updates that they're pushing. Otherwise, if you're on the 2nd gen, hold out. 3rd gen isn't a major upgrade. Now, moving into the world of home theater when it comes to Sonos, you have your Sonos Sub, which kind of teeters on both sides of the spectrum there because the Sub can be used for purely music listening experience. And while the Sonos subreddit will always tell you, yes, buy the Sub, at $700, it's a very, very pricey sub to buy. And the Sub is all pure bass. That's what it provides you. It provides you that depth, that punch, that those lows in terms of explosions and everything when it comes to movies. And what's really cool about the Sonos Sub, outside of its just traditional design and modern design, since the 2nd gen, is those 2 force-canceling drivers that Sonos has integrated into these that allow for a rattle-free, vibration-free design. So you don't get that like hum or a rattling when it comes to these subs. You just get a really clean, pure bass experience. And that's what I really love about my 2nd gen sub. They did just recently come out with a 3rd gen. Same thing here with the Sonos 5. No need to upgrade if you're on the 2nd gen. There's no noticeable difference. You're not going to get better bass performance. It's just internal updates like more RAM and memory, or more memory and CPU power for future updates. Outside of that, I will say the Sub is something you should consider, I think, only if you are more so leaning on the side of getting something for your living room or home theater setup. So, for example, if you're getting like a Beam or an Arc, the Sub is something that I would consider easier to add into a system like that than it is like 2 Sonos Ones or a Sonos 5. Not that it goes to waste necessarily there. You can definitely hear it and get the impact of the bass in music by all means. But I think it makes more sense when you're adding the Sub to a home theater setup because you can watch movies and listen to music on those speakers and you really get the benefit of the Sub. So what the Sub does is it takes away the bass responsibilities from the Beam or the Arc and makes those sound more cleaner, and it takes on all that responsibility in itself and you get a much more punchier, packed sound. But again, at $700, it's a pretty big investment. Speaking of those 2 sound bars, currently in Sonos' lineup, they've recently just phased out the play bar, which I have sitting off camera over there for me. The Beam is the entry-level soundbar for Sonos right now. It recently came out a couple years ago at $400. It's more meant for smaller rooms, smaller budgets, coming into the living room scenario. 4 woofers, 1 tweeter, and 4 amps. So it packs a punch and packs a lot of hardware in its small form factor. And I would say if you are currently looking to get into the Sonos lineup and you don't want to spend like anywhere over $500 in terms of budget on a soundbar, the Beam's a really, really great option for your living room and it will definitely provide you that upgrade path because you can add 2 Sonos Ones, SLs later down the road for rear speakers. You can add a Sub later on for that bass. But again, it's a good entry level standpoint into getting into the world of Sonos in the living room and home theater. Now, if you really want to double down in price and performance, you can pay $800 for that of the latest Sonos Arc. This is a multi-directional audio speaker, and when I say speakers, there's a lot of hardware in this. 11 amps, 8 woofers, 3 tweeters, and given that this is Sonos' latest product, you're going to get the latest, not just hardware, but support for things like Dolby Atmos, so you get full Dolby Atmos support through the eARC port, and again, you're paying that premium, that $800 price point for Sonos' newest soundbar. So if you want top of the line performance, you have a new TV, you watch Dolby Atmos content on your streaming services, and you want to get that fully immersive multi-directional audio and do a 5.1.2 setup is what it would be called, then you got to get Sonos Arc. I think if you're currently on the Beam, I would say that the Arc can be an upgrade path. It can definitely be that. You can repurpose the Beam. You can sell the Beam so that the transition to the Arc isn't as much. And it also kind of depends on your experience, your room. Obviously, you want to make sure your TV and the content you're watching supports Dolby Atmos. Not to say that you can't use the Arc if you don't have those ports. It'll still sound phenomenal, but for some people, the Beam will be sufficient, of course. But it is an upgrade path if you want to go that way. I'll also say if you're on the play bar, like myself, the previous soundbar, the de facto standard for Sonos, the Arc is probably the best upgrade path in terms of the latest products that have come out, in the sense that Sonos Sub 2nd Gen, Sonos 5 2nd Gen, or Play 5 2nd Gen, upgrading to the 3rd Gen doesn't make a lot of sense there. However, coming from the play bar to the Arc, you're actually getting a lot more hardware, new hardware at that. You're getting a whole new design. You're getting Dolby Atmos support. You're getting a lot for the actual upgrade path that you're going for. So you can repurpose the play bar, you can resell it, do what you want, but I think that upgrade actually makes the most sense in terms of the newest product lines that have come out. All right, all that said, I do want to mention a quick note here. There are two components that Sonos currently sells in their lineup, the port and the amp. Really what this comes down to is that if you want to add non-Sonos speakers to your setup, this is how you give them that whole Sonos wireless hi-fi treatment, in the sense that you can buy a port, which allows you to hook up like bookshelf speakers through RCA connectors to your network, and then in turn the port acts as like a device that you can stream music to. So if you have these bookshelf speakers that you like, whether they're vintage ones or just another product in your household, you can hook those up. You can hook up a turntable to this and whatnot, and then you can control all of that through the port for $450. If you step it up a notch, the amp is essentially the port on steroids for $200 more at $650. You bring that Sonos experience to more passively powered speakers. So if you have like bookshelf speakers as one thing, like I just mentioned, but let's say you have like in-ceiling speakers, wall-mounted speakers, anything that actually uses that physical like speaker wire connection, you can hook those up to the amp, and since it has more power and it's an amplifier, it can power more speakers. You can actually take another 5.1 surround system from another brand entirely and power it all through the Sonos amp, and then that in turn, those products become smart because they have the Sonos technology and software behind it. So if you want to bring your own hardware into the mix, look into the port or the amp. Additionally, it's worth mentioning as an add-on there is a Sonos Boost. It's just a Wi-Fi extender if you have like a house where your Wi-Fi isn't essential, since Sonos uses that throughout it, and you have like bigger square footage, you may want to buy that as an extension. Again, just worth noting. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Sonos' 2020 lineup. That's their complete line of speakers as it stands right now, as of this video at least, with a new product that just recently came out with a 3rd Gen. There's a lot more updates coming. Again, these new products like the Arc, 3rd Gen Sub, 3rd Gen Sonos 5 drop next month in June, alongside the big major Sonos update that's coming to the S2 apps. Essentially what that means is if you're on Sonos products later than 2015, you're going to be moved to the new app to support the new features. If you're on products prior to 2015, then you're going to be using the Sonos S1 app. That all said, hope this helps a lot of you out there. If you are new to the Sonos ecosystem and looking to buy, hope I answered some of your questions. Feel free to leave your comments and thoughts down below. If you're already using a Sonos system, what does your setup look like? If you're interested in it, have any questions, throw them down there. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. And of course, show your support by subscribing for more content. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.